How are you? All right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, well, I've never. Well, I have heard such nonsense as that last caller before, because that's what you get. You get an answer, but you don't really get anything out of them, any substance about immigration, and you don't feel safe walking down the street. So I'll tell you about my experience of immigration, because all this nonsense, I don't see it. See, I'm 55. Been a doorman for 20 years in my community. I look like a doorman. I know what I look like. But I'll tell you now, you have to make adjustments. Of course you do, to people that may be different, maybe have come from a different world. You do make adjustments. Like I sometimes when I walk down the street, I'll see some Asian women, some Muslim women, and they're a bit nervous because of the way I look. So I deliberately give them a nice big smile. I'll say to them, "Good morning, young ladies, how are you?" Just to make them at ease.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you my experience of immigration. I'm 55. Now, I remember when I was a young nipper in the 80s, because this is the language I'm hearing. I haven't heard, well, I did start hearing it with the Brexit thing, but since the 80s. And this is my experience. See, my experience is this. In the 80s, the Jamaicans and the Bajans and all the West Indians and who I went to school with and their mums and dads had come over in the 60s, and they were our bus drivers and our nurses, and look at, they're part of our community now, and we're proud, and they're proud. You see them wearing England tops. In the 80s, they supported West India. Today, cricketers, they all support the England team because they see themselves in the England team. So that's a fantastic. So my other experience is, for Saturday night, I go for a nice Indian curry on a Friday. I have a kebab on the way home. I have culture, I have colour, I've learned things around the world, music. They've enriched my life, my community. When I say my people, because I love my country and I love my people, I'm talking about the people. Doesn't matter what colour, creed, religion you are. If you live in my community, if you're in this country, you are my people. We are together. And you're right. Where you see it, you've got to call it out. I remember with the Brexit kicking off, I went for an Indian meal, I come out, and the first time I've heard it in 25 years, and the guy said to me, "I won't go in there, mate, buying that and there." I won't say exactly what he said, and I'll give it to him. I'll give him the verbals, and he got a shock of his life.
I'll bet.
And we are being told, and what upsets me more, what is really getting on me is, our problems and our daily lives and what we're going through has nothing to do with immigration. But the politicians they'll tell you that it is, especially one in particular. He'll tell you that the reason you've got problems with this, the NHS, that, you can't pay your bills, you can't do, is because of the people coming on the boats. And it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. We're together. We need to stick together. I'll tell you again another experience of my immigration. The Jubilee, God bless her soul, our dear Queen. On her Jubilee, I went to my local park where I walk my dogs 3 times a day in my community. I know 100 different ways to say hello, how are you? I went to the park. We had Neville who sells his West Indian food there, giving it away for free. Reggae music and all the brothers sitting out drinking Red Stripe. You had some Asian families down the corner giving out free curry all the day. Their homemade food with their music and dancing and playing games. All the children in the park all day playing together. The firemen come. The local Polish community came and did their kielbasa on the barbecues. And I sit every morning having my skinny latte in Costa's with my doorman, my team, and my brothers. They're from all around the world, and we discuss it all the time. Oh. And you just got to keep talking. And my gift to my community, and I've said it all my life, because my father said it and my granddad said it. My gift to my community are my children. And from the day that they were out on the street, they were taught how to think, how to say, how to accept people, difference, how to help, how to love, how to show kindness, how to tolerate, how to be tolerant, and to walk through life like a man, that your word means everything, and the way that you are every day in life means everything, and it shows the people around you. And no one asks me, no one says to me, "Are you a good dad?" That's not for me. My children will know. "Are you a good person?" That's not for me. My friends and my community will tell you how they see me, and because that's my actions. That's how I live my life.
Darren, I couldn't love you more.
Yeah, I'll get upset with it. It's bloody upsetting.
It is.
It's upsetting. In the 80s, my best mate, Tom, God bless his soul, he a West Indian fella, and I got a job, odd carrier. I was an odd carrier. I'll never forget this. I was an odd carrier. We went up there. It was £100 a day. It was big money in them days. And the geezers give me a job Anyway, they said to me later in the day, have you got anyone else you know, Darren? And Thomas was like a brick door, he was. And I said, I haven't got my mate. He said, bring him tomorrow. I said, all right. On the way home, normal, some racial jokes, blah, blah. What's your mate? I said, yeah, he's massive. Oh, yeah, well, long he ain't black. Well, my heart sunk. So I got out. I said, well, he is actually. And I could tell. I could just hear the silence. And I got out. Anyway, I phoned my mate. I said, Tom, because there was no mobiles in them days. Tom, get over in the morning. Mum will make you some breakfast. I've got a job for you. £100. Boom, he was there in the morning. We went to the job. You could see the looks on her face. But 10 o'clock in the morning, first cup of tea, Jesus come to me, he said to me, "There's Dale, your mate." He said, he wasn't even man enough to say it himself. He said, your mate, he said, we don't really need, we're busy. I knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He said, so he's off. You tell him we don't need him. So I said, well, if you don't need him, you don't need me.
You don't need me either.
So he said, so me and Tom, we walked 5 miles home, and like my arm around him, and within 10 minutes we were talking nonsense on the way home and everything. And I'll never forget, I had to go to him and tell him that he didn't. I'll never forget the day I die. Yeah. His face, the look on his face, and I was hoping that stuff would all fade away as time and generations go. And it breaks my heart now when we see people scared and vilifying people because of they've come here to try to work hard. They've left their families from the other side of the world.
Or even those who were born here, Darren, even those who were born here.
And those that were born here, and that's what I'm talking about, my people. There are people. We're all together. It's just, and it's all nonsense. And you're right. When you challenge them, when I see it on X and I say, where did you get that from? None of them have got any facts. It's all myth.
And actually, what you're showing, Darren, and I must leave it there, but I could listen to you for the rest of the afternoon, what you're demonstrating, illustrating there is proper heart and soul. That's what you've put into your friendships and your neighbourliness and your community over the years and into your children, and they'll carry it on. That's what you have done.
Good afternoon, Sheila. What I want to hear, I'm sure the country does. I don't want to hear from career politicians that we've got. They're just all politicians these days are just looking for the next job, and they must think we're so gullible. We want real understanding of the country's problems, and we want workable solutions, and we want them to work for us, not against us, and just looking for the next job. The other thing, which is controversial as well, Sheila, you included, I want less of your opinion on things and more opinion of other people that phone in, because you particularly put your opinion firmly in the frame each time and overtalk other people. And I don't think that's good enough for a radio presenter to actually put their opinion always first.
Well, I'll bear your criticisms in mind, Jonathan, and I will, to a degree, reject some of them if you don't mind. But anyway, I will certainly bear them in mind.
You're bound to, because
I'm not bound to.
You're doing it now.
Well, hang on.
You're over-talking me now, aren't you?
No, I'm talking to you and then you over-talked me, actually. You made your point and I responded to it. Again, it is called conversation, Jonathan. You don't queue up in a conversation. Sometimes there is a bit of over-talking. Oh, there isn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk and listen at the same time.
You let me know when you're finished and then I'll speak. So carry on with your thoughts.
No, I've finished. Go on. Give us your opinion. You're bound to.
On what?
Everything. Your opinion, only your opinion matters.
That's not true.
Yeah, you finish every call, you finish with your opinion. You totally undermine every call.
I don't.
With your opinion. It's your opinion, Sheila.
I don't.
Listen to your calls back.
I don't.
Your opinion.
I don't, Jonathan.
You qualify, oh no, I don't agree with what that person just said. You've got no right to say that. What's the point in the person asking the person to phone up?
Of course I've got the right to say that.
No, you haven't.
Of course I haven't. They have the right to say to me.
You keep saying it's my programme. You wouldn't have a programme if people didn't listen. You need to remember that.
I keep saying it's my programme.
You do. You say it probably a dozen times each programme. It's my programme. I'll do what I want. And other presenters do the same thing.
Are you
on all radio stations.
Are you mistaking me with some really unpleasant woman?
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying it because she sounds awful.
Word.
She sounds awful.
I'm just saying you're very opinionated.
That's okay,
and I don't
isn't
think
it?
people want to listen to your opinion. They want to listen to other people's opinion who are actually creating your programme. You wouldn't have a programme unless people phoned up, Sheila. You need to remember that.
Can I speak?
Yeah,
I'm just never sure when to speak with you, Jonathan. I'm not sure whether there's a queue.
No, I'll let you know when you can speak, Sheila.
Okay, that's fine. It is talk radio, after all, Jonathan.
Yeah, but not Sheila talk. It's other people.
Well, I am
talk.
on it, and so it's Sheila talk, and it's Jonathan talk, and it's
can't
Catherine
own it.
talk, and it's David talk, and it's James talk, and it's Jonathan talk,
Yeah, but you
and it's
undermine
Aidan in Liverpool
people.
talking, and it's David talk. He's calling as well. Everybody can talk, but me included.
Yeah, but you finish up by saying, I don't agree with that person.
Or
that
I do
person's
agree
wrong,
with
or
that
I
person.
think they're this and that and the other. You do it every single programme.
It's not a problem. I'm having a conversation on the radio about stuff. I'm allowed to say what I think about it.
Yeah, but it's not all about your opinion. You're not right on everything, are you?
No,
But you
absolutely
think you
not.
are.
I don't claim to be.
You do think you are.
I really don't. I really don't, Jonathan.
You and other presenters on other programmes, as well as LBC, you all have your own opinion. And you force this down people's throats. And I think it's just appalling.
What am I forcing down people's throats?
Your opinion. You undermine what they say. Oh, that's just nonsense what that person said. I've heard you say it.
It's a conversation,
today.
Jonathan.
I've heard you say it the other day.
But it's
you
debate.
do it all the time.
It's debate and conversation.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
You've
is.
got to have the final word. That's what it's all about.
I don't
Your
have
programme,
to.
your way.
I mean, I have to find a
Your
word
opinion.
in that I say thank you for your call and I move on to the next caller, but I don't have to have the final word on the issue.
But you do.
No, I don't.
You do have to have the final word.
I
In your
don't.
head, you have to have the final word because it's a put down on what you say. Anybody else says anything, you have to come on and say, no, that's not what I think. My opinion's God. My opinion's the only opinion that's worth anything. And that's totally, totally wrong. You have no right to say that.
No right.
No right. No right at all, no.
What
Because
do-
you're undermining what people are saying. They've got a perfect right to say what they're saying.
And I
In fact,
invite
you don't
them.
agree with it.
I invite them, and as I've invited you, I invite people to say what they think, and I let people say what they think. And I, as the other side of the conversation, am allowed to say what I think, surely.
Yeah, but you talk people down all the time. Talk them down as in bring them down, and talk them down as in you don't agree with what they're saying. So it's Sheila's opinion only.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm saying. Listen
well,
back
I
to your
can hear what
programmes
you're
and
saying.
You'll hear what I'm saying.
I can hear what
Listen
you're
to your
saying.
programmes.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Not really, no. I think you've understood enough. But you know what I'm talking about. Just listen to your programme, Sheila. It proves what I'm saying exactly.
Okay.
Sheila's Way.
Okay.
Used to be a programme called Howard's Way. You must do a show, Sheila. You can then have all the time you like. Then you can on television. They can't argue with you, can they?
Can I have a big boat if we do that?
Sorry?
Can I have a big boat like they did on Howard's Way?
No. You're sailing away anyway. So
Okay.
you're 7 sheets to the wind, I reckon, Sheila. I think. But never mind.
Okay.
I've got to go now. I haven't really got time to speak to you anymore. I've just educated you on how to do a radio programme.
Okay.
Or how not to, as in your case.
Okay.
Goodbye. See you later.
That was Jonathan having the last word, everybody.
You class China as a police state. I just wondered what you thought we were living here.
Not a police state, Terry.
Really? I wonder how many Chinese people have been thrown in jail for their posts on the internet compared to us.
Oh, okay. Okay, here we go.
It's just very...
Go on, Terry. Have your
It's
say,
very
and then I'll
easy.
done.
You know, you love to... you and James love to demonise people, like, for example, you know, the Russians, comparing them to Nazis and things like that. But, you know, look at what America did as soon as someone put missiles
The
on
Russian
there.
government, Terry, not Russians.
Well, the Russian government, even.
That's what I'm talking about.
You don't talk about the fact that we've been poking the bear by trying to put NATO on their doorstep when we agreed many moons ago that we would never do that.
Well, it has been talked about on my programme many times.
Yeah, but again...
But it hasn't really, because Terry's decided it hasn't. I'm telling you, it has, Terry.
Okay, and again, so you're now saying potentially, what, all Chinese people are spying for China? Is that your...
Do you actually have ears, Terry? I've explicitly said the opposite at least 3 times since 3 o'clock.
Right, so it's just a dig at Prince Philip then, is that what it is?
What?
What is this that you're talking about?
What?
Well, what I heard you
Prince
saying...
Philip's dead.
Sorry?
Prince Philip is dead.
Prince Andrew.
Oh, Prince Andrew.
But are you going to try and do a James tie me up in because I used the wrong word? Yeah, well,
Well, it's quite a difference. A dead prince called Philip and a living one called Andrew.
You knew who I'm talking about. So
I genuinely didn't.
No, it's nothing to do with Prince Andrew then, no? This article you've put out.
Oh, I've mentioned him as well.
Right, okay. So
did you not hear me talk about Prince Andrew?
Well, the only bit I've heard...
I've just interviewed a royal editor, literally seconds before your call.
Right. Well, again, I was talking to your producers or whoever it is that puts the phone line, so I didn't hear that. But my point is...
I mentioned him at the top of the hour as well.
Wrong.
You haven't heard much, Terry. I think are you sure you're calling the right programme?
Yeah, alas, I am, yeah. But from what I gathered, you mentioned about should we be wary of certain Chinese people? No, is that not what you were trying to portray?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, maybe I was listening to a different station.
I explicitly said to ask difficult questions about a nation is required sometimes, but that doesn't...
And what were those questions?
Well, we've been talking about them for the last 10 minutes with Elizabeth Braw and ITV's royal editor. How do we do business with them? What do we make of some of the people in this country who have high-level positions, like this man who's been named today, and their involvement in this country? What do we know about the reason for the numbers of Chinese students in this country? It's not about... I've explicitly said several times, Terry, this is not about saying Chinese people in this country are to be suspected of being spies. I've explicitly said it multiple times. Well, if I might be so bold, Terry, I think you've got listening difficulties.
Well, maybe I have, but maybe you've got learning difficulties.
Maybe I have. What is it you'd like to teach me?
How to produce a show that maybe is not biased to one side and is a level playing field. But again, you've been taught by James, so... I
haven't been taught a single thing by James, if you don't mind.
I think you have.
What do you think we do? Go out after work and I have lessons from James?
This is what I picture: is you either meet up at Waitrose or Home Foods, and you basically come up with the biggest load of nonsense you can to try and to give to the lefties that listen to most of your programs.
And where do you meet your friends to discuss things?
I use the telephone.
Do you?
I don't need to try and poison thousands of minds with my own bias. Or bile.
Terry, do you understand what reporting is?
Yeah, I do. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I've been doing it all afternoon.
You're supposed to report the truth. Well, you're not supposed to come up with your own agendas on the way you want to push
what
things.
lie have I told about today's story?
So are you saying to me now that the modern... Listen, the reason all these Tim Pot...
No, it's focusing on China. Focusing on China. Because if I opened it up to you telling me what you think of everything I talk about, you would just berate me for an hour, which I don't personally... I don't personally want to hear it, and I don't think our listeners want to hear it. I'm talking about China. What have I lied about China this afternoon? I've asked questions more than...
I didn't say you'd lied about China. I said that from the short bit of
you said I'm not telling the truth.
No, I said from the short bit of your show that I heard, it just sounds as if you're questioning, or that maybe the Chinese people that are students next door potentially might be some kind of spies for this police nation that they come from.
Well, they do, but I can't stress how often.
Have you been to China?
No, I haven't. No.
All right, I have.
And
I would say it's a much freer and easier living place than it is here at the moment. Any
plans to move there?
No, I wouldn't be able to. I don't think they've got a good immigration system there. They keep the
riffraff out.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Is that why you couldn't go there?
I wouldn't be able to go there. No.
Okay.
Is that why you've never been?
What?
To China.
What? Because they're trying to keep me out?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are levels, But...
Yeah. What would I fall into?
Oh, I don't think I could say it on the air.
Have a go.
But I think James swims in it a lot. So.
Say again?
I think James swims in it,
But if you could freely go there, would you, to live instead of here?
Yeah. 100%.
A one-party socialist republic led by the Chinese Communist Party, in which the party is everything.
Okay, so again, Russia prisoned about 300 people last year for posting things online. England prisoned, I believe it was around 3,500, 4,000 people for putting stuff online. So, you don't think we're in a police state, or that's what you tell your, the people that follow yourself. But, really, do you really think so? So what would you call that? That people are getting thrown in jail and that, you know, murderers and rapists or God knows what are being let out so that there are spaces for these people.
It's confusing.
Or am I imagining that?
It's confusing, isn't it? That the law isn't a straight line. It's confusing sometimes.
Well, no, it is. It's quite.
Oh, and it gets it wrong sometimes as well, Terry.
Well, no, the law isn't asked, but it depends who's
not
controlling.
Always.
Well, I mean, that saying goes back.
So ideally, you'd like to live in what? A lawless one-party communist state?
No, I'd just like to live somewhere where you wouldn't potentially be thrown in jail for saying something in a forum, and then the next day, you know, or an old lady of 78 be arrested in Downing Street for protesting about the fact that, you know, children were stabbed to death. That's the kind of world I'd like to live in.
The business of me not telling the truth in the last 25 minutes, I'm still not clear what I haven't told you. Well, apart from anything else,
no, like I said,
mainly I've been asking questions, Terry, rather than giving a view.
So I'm only going on the bits of your show I heard, and it seemed that you were casting an aspersion that potentially people that are here.
But can we agree that we've put that to bed, because I have literally said, and thanks to you, I've now said it about 7 times, that isn't what I'm saying.
So it's a bit of a pointless subject then, isn't it, really?
But are you prepared to say you're sorry for telling me I've been telling untruths?
No, because I think, and I don't blame you for it, you're only earning a living, but I think you're governed by you know, there are certain things you have to put out there.
Who am I governed by?
Again, I don't know, but there's definitely...
I'm not governed by anybody, Terry. I'm governed by one thing. Well, maybe 1.5 things. I'm governed by the law when I'm on air, and I'm governed by Ofcom standards.
Okay. So there would be no influence. There's nothing that someone could whisper in your ear that has to be talked about.
Absolutely not.
Okay. I've got it all wrong then.
Who do you think is whispering in my ear?
I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know.
Have you got any ideas?
No, nothing. Again, I don't know how the infrastructure of the radio.
Well, do you want me to tell you?
For example, you've got in America. You've got, again, just to be, and again, forgive me, I'm not the most literate person in the world, but you've got 2 main channels in America, right? One of them's is it CNN or whatever, that are right wing, and the others are left wings, and you know they both come up with their own. You know, you got Whoopi Goldberg, you know, spouting stuff on one of them, and
The View.
So that's my point, is that the show you work for, I would say, is left wing.
Would you?
Extreme left wing.
Would you really?
Yeah. 100%.
That's interesting, because I'm actually
not.
not.
You don't think James is?
I don't want to comment on James. That's my rule. I don't talk about. I don't talk about other presenters when I'm on air.
No, I'm not asking you.
It's my program now.
Okay, all right. But anyway, look, it's just my opinion. I've got nothing personally against you. I enjoy listening to the debates, but
But you said you didn't know how the program works. Do you genuinely want to hear what happens in my day? Because they're very similar each day. Do you want to hear it?
Okay, so say a big yes, please.
I'll tell you. I wake up. Let me just tell you. I'll tell you about my morning, because that's what leads to the program that you've had the misfortune to hear today. I wake up All right. I wake up in the morning in my lovely warm, cozy bed.
Okay.
I stand up and my back hurts. I go and have a shower and brush my teeth. Mm-hmm. I go and make an urgent cup of tea after that, and some nutty brown toast with banana on, which my producer constantly skits me about, right? So that's so far so good. Okay. Then I and the producer, a lovely young woman called Shivani, she and I talk about the stories we've seen, sometimes talk about just things we've seen, people we've spoken to, issues that might be interesting, stories that have come up on the programme the previous day, and we thrash it out and we talk about what might be of interest, what might make a good phone-in topic, what might be a good news conversation to have, but not necessarily prompt a conversation like this one, and we thrash it about with texts for about, half an hour in the morning, and then later in the morning we speak over the phone, and we see how the news has developed that morning. So, for example, if this guy had been named earlier, this Chinese alleged spy, if he'd been named earlier, we'd have decided much earlier that we were definitely going to have the conversation we're having now at 3:00. But that's it. Nobody rings me. Nobody tells Shivani what she shouldn't force me to do. People will sometimes say, oh, by the way, we've seen this story and we think it would be great on Sheila's programme. See what you think, see what she thinks. That's the end of it. Nobody is beating me round the head with a club telling me what to put on the radio. Never.
Okay, then I've got it right. Again,
Never.
Let me just, you've explained it perfectly, and that's great how it works. But for me, my imagination of what I imagine it's like is basically that, some articles you're not to touch. So, for example, the horrific stabbings that happened in was it Portsmouth? I forget the exact name of the place, but
on the beach.
Sorry,
on the beach of the two women.
No, the little girls that were murdered.
And it's Southport.
Southport. Sorry.
Okay, right. You've thrown down the gauntlet here. I had a tip-off about that story having happened, not about to happen, obviously, about 10 minutes before everybody else got it. And we did not hesitate to go live with that story as soon as we had confirmed it. We've talked about it pretty solidly throughout the summer. We will give full coverage to the trial and the details that come out in the trial. We've had reporters on the ground in Southport at the time and subsequently. We've reported on the royal visit there that happened. We've reported on subsequent elements that have emerged of the case. We've reported on the family's progress. Is there anything else we should be reporting on that case that you haven't heard?
No, okay. I've not heard you personally talk about that.
You really must listen more carefully, Terry.
Well, no, so the things I heard, though, the things I did hear, Sheila, were the things of such the saying, he was a Christian, he was born in this country, he was a local lad. And these things have all come...
Well, no, you've read them on social media. You wouldn't have heard me saying that because there was a very early arrest. And when an arrest happens and charges are brought, you don't typically go into detail about the individual and you don't go typically into detail about the case, any case, once it's active and there's a trial. That's set as well. It's just normal, Terry. I know there's lots of people out there who'd like to think that the powers that be got together, then rang me, then rang James, then rang Nick Ferrari, then rang everybody on the Today programme, then rang everybody at Channel 4 and said, don't mention the Southport story. But I hate to divest you of your opinion, Terry. You're wrong. That isn't how it works. It isn't what happens. And I would urge you, if you're going to ring me to tell me I'm the worst presenter on the worst programme in the worst country on the planet, have the good grace to listen a bit more carefully. Hi, Jason.
Good afternoon. I haven't called before, and you're probably not going to like what I've got to say. But the point I would like to make is this topic of sexual harassment at work, in my view, has elements of positive, ideas behind it in terms of preventing, problems for people at work. However, it's increasingly over the years taken on, in my view, a purely feminist sort of another one of these politically inspired lines which are about weapons to bring men to account. And what do I mean by this? Well, we've got laws against sexual assault. We've got laws against violence, which are both very rare in the modern workplace. We're no longer in the Benny Hill era of modern workplaces. And what we seem to have now...
Sorry, what are you saying is very rare? Sexual violence?
Sexual violence and sexual assault at work is very rare.
Okay.
What is much more common in modern workplaces, in my view, is bullying at workplaces, mobbing in workplaces, which is often done in a very underhand passive. It's called mobbing in the workplace, where you have a group of people ganging up against
an individual,
one person. Yeah, and this is very underhand, and it's very difficult to detect. And often
can I just say, so is a lot of sexual assault. Very underhand.
Hold on. You can say what you want to say. I'm not talking. As I said, there's a law against sexual assault. There's a law against violence. If sexual assault, in the rare cases it happens at work, was to happen, somebody just needs to call the police, and that will be it. In the cases of mobbing, and then I want to go on to talk about sexual harassment. Now, sexual harassment, as it's defined, need not to do anything to do with sex. It is merely a term used to basically enable certain people to claim that on grounds of their sex, they have been offended in the workplace. So it can be something as a mere comment, a mere allegation, a false allegation indeed, because it's very difficult to protect against those things. And the final point I'd like to make is what is needed at work is a general bullying anti-mobbing law that could apply equally no matter who the victim is, no matter who the perpetrator is, whether they're women, men, non-white, white, Muslim, whatever it might be. Why? Because that's the only way you're going to get a level playing field. And I'm convinced, and I know beyond any doubt, that the laws you're talking about now are more labour-inspired, double-standard laws dreamt up by sort of well-off lawyers who only speak to themselves about the same things and don't actually live in the real world.
Do you mean the law that Gillian talked about?
And they don't.
Well, you don't need to shout every time I speak, Jason.
Sorry.
When you're referring to the law,
I'm going to be accused of mansplaining.
Well, you're just shouting when I speak, which is strange.
Right.
When you talk about the laws, are you talking about the law that Gillian Howard, my guest, alluded to?
I don't know what law she's talking about, but because I haven't looked at them. But I can guarantee you.
But you're just telling me you know that they're unnecessary. So I'm just checking which law you mean. I know the existing laws, yes, because the existing sexual harassment laws have their background in U.S. civil rights laws, and were originally there to deal with. They were originally there to deal with what's called quid pro quo harassment, which is basically where people were demanding sexual favours for jobs. It then got expanded under all this feminist mantra in the US to cover what they call a hostile work environment, which basically includes offence of any sort of kind as declared by the person on receipt of that offence. And in the UK, over many years, that sort of idea of being offended, I don't like what you say kind of thing, has now been expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded. It's ongoing. There's whole sort of law firms with probably departments on it. And it goes on in wider areas, not just this area. So, for example, we've been talking about two-tier care, and how he wants to criminalise people who sort of criticise certain things that he doesn't like being criticised. It's all part of that. All I'm saying is, if you're going to have those kind of subjective laws, they need to be equal. Everybody needs to be equal before the law. So they need to be drafted in such a way that it's not only women who can deceive, or a certain aggrieved women who can be protected, or not only. That's already the case, Jason. It's already the case.
No, it's not.
Can I explain? I'm going to put your mic down because you don't know how to have a conversation. I'll come back. I'll open it again. I just need to say something. The laws that exist at the moment. Let's use the example I gave about myself at work 10, 12 years ago. If I had been a man and that man was doing and saying the same things to me, I could have used sexual harassment in the workplace laws to deal with it. It's not just for women. It's there for men as well. Your turn.
Well, you say that, but in practice, I know I have been in various positions in my life. I've been criticised from a whole range of reasons and insulted. And I can guarantee you, if I was to try by women, shall I say, but not only women, and if I was to claim that I had been subject to a hostile environment and claim sexual harassment on the ground, say it was women doing it to me, there's no way, or gay people doing it to me, there's no way I would be able to.
How do you know? Did you ever try?
No, because I don't see the point, to be honest, because I have seen how it happened. The other thing, of course, I think you're disregarding my point, is the law needs to apply regardless. Everybody needs to be equal before the law. These are Equality Act ideas, and these, focusing on certain aspects of bad behaviour at work are merely about preferencing certain people and victimising others. And it's very difficult when there's a lot of false accusations that go on, people claim to be offended for this, that and that reason. And what happens, companies, they're so afraid of having to pay a fee. If I was a wealthy company, I wouldn't listen to many of these allegations, which are frivolous. If a woman was being assaulted...
I'll finish my own sentence if that's okay, Jason. If a woman verbally or sexually assaulted me in this office, I would complain about her too. It's not about the gender of the person in this instance. I mean... Right. I would guess that it is more men being sexually inappropriate to women in the office than the other way around. I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
But the law is equal for you and me on this.
No, it's not. As I said, there needs to be.
Right. Just because you don't use a law doesn't mean it's not there for you, Jason.
The law. I don't know why you're just. Okay, let me put it to you. Do you think there should be an anti-mobbing, anti-bullying law that should apply to everybody regardless of their characteristics?
I think there should be, within the workplace you're talking about here, I think there should certainly be anti-bullying. Yes. I've only just heard of mobbing, but anti-bullying, anti-mobbing policies in every workplace, absolutely I do.
Right. And should it be in the law? Should it be in the law or only some sort of, guidance?
Well, harassment is already there, and I think you could definitely put... bullying and mobbing under harassment, probably.
Yeah.
And there's already law on that.
Well, this is the thing, and it's not. And the reason it's not in law, mobbing, it's not.
Harassment
is. And harassment, yeah, but that's very different. And
it's not.
In the sense that
it's not.
Well, it may not be very different, but
it's not different at all. If I'm in the workplace and somebody does or says something to me and I ask them not to, and then they do it again, legally, that is harassment at that point.
Right. But if I and a couple of my mates sabotage you at work, go around creating rumours about you, slagging you off in front of everybody, making you look incompetent.
That's slander and harassment.
Hang on.
Well, you've asked me. That's slander and harassment.
Hang on. Such that you end up, getting suffering financially and otherwise in the workplace. There's nothing that can be done about it. Even though it might be a preordained campaign of passive aggressive harassment, and that's why I suggest what you do. If you don't know what mobbing is, look it up on the internet or people have written books about it. It's a very feminized, passive aggressive form of bullying that does not involve violence. Usually, does not involve
feminized
harassment. Feminized because it's very passive aggressive. It's not overtly aggressive. We don't live in most people.
But by that, do you mean it's mainly women doing it?
Yeah. Or feminized men. Yeah. Yeah.
Feminized men.
Basically, because most men, in the normal sense of the word, don't sort of resort to those things, and they might be muscular men, but they still people don't. Most right-thinking people don't do these things. Put it up. And
most right-thinking people don't do any of the things you and I are talking about. Do they?
Yeah, but you're missing. Okay, you won't answer me. Your focus is on one aspect of what I call of mobbing and bullying at work. Sexual harassment is one stream of that.
We've talked about a lot of things. I'm not focusing on just one thing.
You are. It's under the umbrella of bullying and mobbing. Not. You've acknowledged that we don't have bullying, mobbing works that apply.
We have harassment
that apply to everyone. We have harassment, but you go to an employer and say you're being mobbed or bullied at work, unless
if I wanted a legal response, I'd call it harassment.
Please let me finish. Yeah, you go to your workplace as a man and say you're subject to mobbing or bullying at work, unless you are under one of these so-called protected characteristics, or unless there's some kind of illegal harassment, like the Protection of Harassment Act, that might be proven. They might say they've got policies on bullying and mobbing at work, but nothing will be done.
But sexual harassment protections are not just for women. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Sexual harassment protections are not just for women. I would put it to you that they probably need recourse to it more than men, not exclusively, but more than men. But it's not a law that is exclusively for women.
You're obsessed with the sexual aspect of it.
No, I'm not. You've just said there are specific.
You're disregarding my point, which is about mobbing and bullying at work.
Do you know what's happening, Jason? I'm not disregarding anything. I've been speaking to you for nearly 8 minutes. I am merely saying things that you don't want me to say. That's very different from disregarding what you're saying. If what you want to hear from me is, thank you for calling, oh wise one, you have taught me everything I need to know about this subject, well, you'll wait a long time before you hear it. I'm not disregarding anything you're saying. I'm giving it loads of airtime.
Get out those ivory towers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Karen's called. I'm so pleased we have a Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hello there.
Take the floor. It's all yours, Karen.
Imagine being called Karen.
I know.
In fact, I recently did, because I've always wanted to do stand-up, and my opening line of the set that I did was, I'm Karen, unfortunately. Because if you're called Karen, you can't even complain about it, because you're just being a Karen.
A Karen. How often is it thrown at you?
Oh, frequently, yes. And interestingly, I am a retired teacher who still does some supply. So obviously, my name will be around, and even kids will, oh, you're Karen, because they think it's amusing, because kids have bought into this. I can't comment. I'm one of those foolish people who sometimes gets whipped up into a frenzy, and I find myself commenting on stuff on social media. But immediately my name comes up, I am dismissed as a Karen. It's like my opinion has to be taken away from me, and I can't be taken seriously anymore. It's frustrating.
I have a very good friend called Karen. Yeah. I don't know.
How does she feel about it?
I haven't spoken to her about how she feels about it. I don't like the idea of saying to her, your name's got this awful connotation. I'm sure she knows her name's got this connotation. But it's very revealing, isn't it? About the attitudes.
Yes, and I've said for a long time that I felt that it was ageist and misogynistic, right at the beginning when it first started. And unfortunately, you can't even just say that it's women. Sorry, it's men who say this, because
I know.
I've had it thrown at me by women as well.
Me too.
At Karen.
I'm looking at one of them.
And the interesting thing here is that she did me a favour in a way, but at this sort of comedy function I was at, I was prompted to make jokes about my names because one of the girls I'm demeaning her,
young women.
A woman, yes, a young woman. Her set was about Karens, and how much and of course she realised, she looked at me halfway
silly
through it and
girl.
thought, oh dear.
Listen to me.
Yes, I got
Silly
my
girl.
own back.
Well, she'll learn, won't she? When she's a bit older, how easily people can be dismissed. Yeah.
Absolutely, but it's a reflection of the way, as you have been saying, our opinions are constantly dismissed.
I mean, it's a bit rich for me to say I'm invisible and my opinions are dismissed because I'm on the radio. I'm on the radio every day giving my opinions. But the opposition I get to some of my views is very gendered.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I don't mind any opposition to my views. But, but when it comes with lots of gender-related nonsense.
Yes, and it often will be because can you remember the Fast Show?
I do, of course.
Yes, where the men would sit and they'd suddenly have an idea, and a woman would have an idea, and she'd say her idea, and they'd all ignore her, and then one of the men would go, I know, and repeat her idea word for word.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, I've had that happen to me.
Yes, I have.
Team building activities and things like that. Mm-hmm. Totally ignored. I'm just a Karen.
How, before the Karen thing came into play, were you typically in your earlier years, did you feel capable of saying,
yes,
watch your mouth, weirdo?
Yes.
Yeah, so did
absolutely. Yes.
Mostly, I can't quite remember that far back. I don't know, but certainly in the workplace, I've never.
Yeah, same.
If something's uncomfortable, please stop it. Yeah.
Had to be careful of it as well because, interestingly, my mother came from another generation, and she would get quite cross at how dismissive I was with men. She said, well,
"You'll never get a husband, Karen."
Yes, she said, "No wonder you haven't got a boyfriend. No wonder you haven't got a boyfriend."
Did she really say that?
Yeah, because she was flirtatious. She worked in an office the walls were covered in topless women because it was a lorry driver's office. And of course, she
was coping.
Yes.
She might not have even known that that's what she was doing, but she was coping.
Of course, yes. And I can't criticise her. She was of her generation.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being pretty and flirtatious.
No.
Nothing at all.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, that giggle tells me otherwise, Karen. Well, listen, you've made my day with your name. Quite the opposite of all those dreadful people who use it against you. How do you see the story?
I agree with the mum.
Tell me why.
Well, we come out of a travelling community, and we don't believe in our children having sex until they're married. And he knowed what he's getting himself into when he went to that country. And the reason why probably the mum's done it is because she's upset about her daughter, having sex under, in that category, because it shouldn't be. It should be the same in this country. It shouldn't be allowed.
And am I right in saying that the traveller way around it historically is to get married very young?
They get married young, but they don't actually have sex until they're married.
How young was it within the laws of this land? Yes, so not before 16. Yeah.
No, 17, 18 years old. When they're married, and that's it. But we call someone who have sex before they're married. We call them, excuse me for the language, we call them prostitutes.
Why?
Because It's it's in the Lord's hands. And it's not right.
Well, just because you have sex, just because you have sex. Well, hang on, let me speak. Just because you have sex under the age of 16, sorry, out of marriage, but when you're young, it doesn't mean money is changing hands. It doesn't. Prostitution is money changing hands.
Yeah, but it's still the same. There's no difference.
Why is there no difference?
Well, there's no difference. It shouldn't be like that. You see, the kids are staying age, and
it is, though, John, in the law of this land.
But in our community, we bring our kids up in the right way with respect and morals. In other cultures, in English cultures, excuse me, I'm not being racist or anything, because I come out of a gypsy community, but they don't care who they sleep with. That's why there's so many diseases and stuff in the world.
Dear me, John. I come firmly out of the culture you're describing, and I very much care who I sleep with, and I very much care what the people around me behave like.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be allowed, and it's very filthy and dirty.
What if tell me this, in the travelling community, if a 17, 18-year-old girl says, look, Dad or Mum, I'm really interested in biology and I want to train to be a research scientist. I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married yet. I want to get married later, or I have the right to not get married at all. But if I'm into my 20s and I meet somebody I like, but I don't want to get married, will you disown me if I have sex with them?
Yes.
You'd literally lose your child for that.
I'd disown her, yeah.
Even if she was 28 when she had sex with this person?
Yes.
What is her sin there, John? What's she doing?
What do you mean the sin? It's not only against us, it's against God as well. If you read the Bible, it tells you in the Bible.
Yeah.
Sleeping around. In our community, you never hear paedophiles and rapists and murderers and stuff, do you?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you probably do, John.
Oh, you don't?
Yes, you do.
No, you don't. Please believe me, now you don't.
Oh, yeah, you do.
No, we don't. We live in a very respectable community, and it's only in English culture that there's filth like this allowed.
Filth. What happens to boys then? Same thing?
What do you mean?
If a boy has sex outside of marriage?
No, a boy's a boy, and a man's a man. Let him go and do what he wants. But a woman's different. It's all about your respect and name.
Sorry. So men can have sex outside of marriage, but women can't.
A man's different.
Why?
But a woman, because it is.
No, but try to be more articulate, John. Why?
What do you mean?
Well, don't just say because it is. Tell me why it is.
Because a man's a man, but a woman, when she loses her self-respect and the name, I say a woman's name is everything in this world. And if she has no respect and no name,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this to anybody, but literally, that last statement makes you officially ridiculous.
I don't care. Women should have respect for themselves.
But a man doesn't need to.
Yes, a man needs our respect. Of course he does. It doesn't give him the right to go and sleep round. But a man is a man at the end of the day. But if he does,
what does that mean, a man is a man? Like, he can't avoid his sex drive, but a woman can?
A woman has got to have respect, and that's the way it should be.
By have respect, do you mean obey the rules of a man like you?
Same as gays and stuff like that. I don't have no respect for them at all.
Let's leave gay people out of this. I'm keen to have a conversation.
It's abomination to God, isn't it?
But what about a man? If we buy into your theory, and I don't, what if a man sleeps around? Who's he disrespecting?
What do you mean?
Well, is he disrespecting anyone or anything if he has sex outside of marriage?
He's a man, isn't he?
You're still not selling this to me. He's a man. Hang on a sec. What you're saying, just so you can try and hear yourself. He's a man, so it's okay for him to have sex outside marriage.
No, but if he did have it, it'd be all right. But a woman, when she loses her virginity, that's the end of it, isn't it?
What's virginity?
Well, between the legs.
But what do you mean?
Well, when she loses her virginity, that's,
Yeah. Extraordinary. That was like having a conversation with somebody from medieval times. That is extraordinary. You can have a decent, sensible, rational conversation about sex and marriage and waiting and all of that. Of course you can. But he's a man, so it's okay. She's a woman, so it's not. Get out of here. That is it for me. for today. If you missed any of the show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player to all my filth, where you can also pause and rewind live radio as well as listen to a range of podcasts. I'm feckin' furious. Lorraine has called from Romford. Hello, Lorraine.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
I just feel it's all too much. I don't know why they don't leave her alone.
Well,
leave the poor girl alone. She is a mother. She's a wife. She's a princess. She's doing royal duties. She's doing so much. I'm sorry, I'm really emotional.
But even beyond all of that, she's a person who deserves privacy.
Exactly. It's her. I mean, how many of us tell our friends what we're doing exactly? How many of us tell our friends exactly what we're doing? So why should she have to come in the open and tell the whole country or the whole world what's wrong with her body or what's not right with her body or whatever it is? It's not right. They should leave her alone.
I agree.
Like I said, she's a mother. She's got 3 beautiful children, God bless them. She's got husband. And she's got so many things to take care of. Like you said earlier on, she has, obviously there is trouble in the family with the brother and all that, She's taken so much in her stride. She doesn't need to explain to anybody.
Why? Can I ask, Lorraine, why you feel so emotional about it?
Well, I think it's because I've had cancer twice myself. And I didn't really want anybody to know. Not that it was my fault.
Of course.
But obviously, it's just you don't want anybody. Nobody knew. I mean, unless they didn't see me for a month, and then they said, "Where's the rain?" But I mean, everybody's entitled to the privacy.
Yeah.
Princess or no princess, she's still a human being. She's a person. She needs to have time for herself. I don't know why people expect her to come in the open and do all this drama.